Hi everybody, welcome to this episode. I'm Steve Irwin. This is Prescott Gallery of Homes, and today we have Terri Atkins.
Hello.
Hey,
Thanks
Terri.
for having me again.
Well, thank you. So we've been talking about all the new developments going on in and around Prescott, and Terry's went out to Jasper. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, Jasper is in Prescott Valley, actually. A lot of people think it might be in Prescott, but it's Prescott Valley. And there are a couple of builders over there so far, one being Mandalay Homes. And the more luxury builder that I love their homes is Capstone Homes.
Capstone.
And those are going to start at, I'm looking at the lot list. The lot premiums start at $10,000 all the way up to $80,000. That's a big difference, but the closer I think you get to Iron King Trail, you're going to pay a little more for that direct access to the trail. And there's going to be lots that face your backyard facing Granite Mountain.
Oh, okay.
Which is west, which is your beautiful view of sunsets. A lot of people want that view.
Sure.
They do have several floor plans to choose from. Looks like starting about 2,100 square feet all the way up to 3,800 square feet. And if those floor plans don't work for you, you can show them a picture of what you want or give them your idea and they will build it for you.
Wow, that's pretty nice. I mean, there's a couple of builders, but it's nice to have a production builder,
Right.
a higher end
Right.
production builder.
Right. And Mandalay has nice homes too. I'm not saying those are great homes. These are going to be Capstone is a higher price point.
Right.
And a few more amenities thrown in there. So Jasper itself is going to have a clubhouse. It doesn't exist yet because this is all just getting going this year.
Brand new.
Brand new. So they are going to have a clubhouse. They're going to have tennis and pickleball courts.
Wow.
My favorite that I just realized, they're going to have a coffee and wine cafe.
Wow.
Woohoo, I may have to move. So they'll have a dog park and, of course, a pool and fitness center. So their HOA dues are $330 quarterly.
Okay.
And sorry, it's all new, so I got to look at my notes. So their $330 quarterly is internet and trash.
Is included.
Is included in that. So
Wow, that's nice.
What are we calling that? $110 a month, which really isn't bad.
Not really.
Not really.
I
Not
think-
for all
I
what
think-
you
I
get.
think my internet at home at least $100 a month.
Right.
By itself, you know. So I mean that's good.
That's good. And then I would have to find out more. They have a club initiation fee. I wonder if that's a social membership. I do feel like I got to look into that further.
Yeah, I would check it out. And so then they have and that's the monthly club fee for $100 also.
Right.
Wow. Okay. So
Right.
$210 for everything. it
For
sounds like.
everything.
And so now I went through their farm model. Have you gone through that one?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
yes.
gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
They, I call it the Leanne Grimes look, you know, on the girls on TV.
Yeah.
She does the ranch style homes. So those are really, really pretty. Now there's some other developments that people may not be aware of, and that's the Granite Mountain Vista Estates. So if you're familiar with the area and you go out to Outer Loop Road in Williamson Valley, turn down, it's not
Stazinski? We're both having a problem saying
We're
it.
having a problem.
Stazinski. There, I got it.
So all the way at the end of Stazinski, the road will turn right to go to Yuma, but you can also go across the creek bed.
Right.
And if you go across the creek bed, that's where the Granite Mountain Vista development's going to be.
Okay.
And so that's a nice area. And another development coming in closer to Prescott is right off of Pioneer Parkway in Williamson Valley. So that's been in the paper. The city of Prescott is annexing that from the county. That's 700 acres. They're going to put 264 homes, city streets, city utilities.
That's nice.
And 264 homes on 700 acres. It's about 2 acres a home. We think, although there's no price point set, we think it's going to be a high-end area.
Right.
So probably 700 million or more. So
700,000, I hope.
700,000.
or
700
or up to
million.
yeah, 700 million. Yeah. So we think that's going to be a real nice development. Of course,
And
I
that's
was
Stringer.
a Stringer
Stringer
Field.
Field. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually a big ranch, and they're selling half of the ranch. The other half is going to be privately held. I was out Walden Ranch last week. I think they only had 2 lots left. And
Okay.
so I guess the big development that we're watching is the James family Deep Well Ranch development.
Okay.
So, and of course Jasper too.
Right.
And so those
So we
are
have a
nice.
lot of new developments, which is great. There is growth. It's needed, though.
It is.
It is needed. And people to have options.
They have a lot of options, particularly price-wise, because Prescott Valley and Prescott, big price difference, particularly in the bigger developments. So let's talk a little bit more about listings and different
And
properties.
I know that you have some new listings, so I know you're going to show us. These look quite nice. Let's see what you got.
So I do have a dental office. My personal dentist is retired. He
Nice.
decided to enjoy life a little bit more. So we have his property listed. We'll put it up on the screen for everyone to see. But it has 6 dental chairs, 6 dental stations, I guess, a complete lab, a photo lab, doctor's offices, that thing in there. So if you're interested in it, that's available. And then we have a new listing that's 30 acres just out in Chino Valley. The nice thing about that is that it comes with 900 acre feet of water.
Wow.
So if you look at an acre foot, I believe that's a little over 26,000 gallons of water, and we have 900 of those.
I need a calculator.
Get a calculator. So that's just a lot of water, and that's grandfathered in for agricultural use.
Okay.
But we can turn that into water shares for development also. So those are 2 great little listings. There are some more residential stuff, but
Well, the Chino Valley acreage, that's for commercial, or?
well, it's
can-
currently zoned agricultural, but it borders
Okay.
Highway 89, so we could probably zone it commercial very easily. Is what we think is probably the highest and best use is for agno. So there's some marijuana growing fields that's like a mile down the street. They're water intense plants, so we may sell it to them. We don't know yet. So-
Alrighty then.
so, but it is a nice piece of land, though. It's nice, flat and level, and very usable. But I see you brought a lockbox with you.
I did.
So tell us a little bit about that.
The reason I brought my dirty lockbox is because things are selling. They've been he's fresh off of a sold house.
There you go.
I get this question so much from sellers, so I just want to demonstrate how it works.
Okay. Well, and first of all, is what people probably understand or should understand that's hard to steal.
It's hardy.
Yeah, I mean that's a solid piece of equipment.
It is.
It's
And
almost,
expensive.
and expensive. But people think, oh, I can just cut that off with a
Right.
hacksaw or something. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So
They'd have to really, really, really try. So I do feel like it's the most secure way. And I always talk to sellers because I am very big on when your house is being shown, I don't care what price point it's at, don't be home.
right, absolutely.
It just really ruins the feel for the buyers walking through. And I know some sellers think they're being very helpful, pointing things out, but the truth is the buyer cannot relax, they cannot speak freely, they won't say things to their realtor.
I think in 20 plus years, I've never sold a house where the buyer was home or the seller
was
was
home.
home during the showing.
Right.
So
I've had some not good moments where the seller was home because now you've got the buyer and seller talking, and some will try to start negotiating right there, or maybe they say, hey, why'd you paint that wall that color? And
Right.
people get offended. It's just best not to be there. It's a business transaction at the end of the day, and that's why you have a realtor.
and you should treat it as such.
Right. So, And along with not being home, the lockbox, we have to have that. So the key is hidden in the bottom. And only realtors with the app, I don't know if we can show it, or there's an app on our phone. And we go in and we have a code. We have to activate it.
So you have to be a realtor, you have to have access
Right.
to the application, and you need a security code.
Right.
And you need usually a showing appointment.
Right. Well, definitely. You still, good point. That was it. Success.
That was quick.
So that's where, and then a key would be in here. The realtor would take the key out, open the door. Now, when this happens, I'm going to get an email and a text, however you have it set up. So I know that Joe Realtor just entered my listing at 1:05 p.m.
Right.
And that's great. And they have made an appointment along those
Right.
lines. They still have to make an appointment to access the lockbox. But I'm always trying to explain to sellers that it is secure because they've made an appointment. Then I get an alert. The listing agent gets an alert that they've entered. And then if the showing agent is really good and presses the done with showing button,
Right.
you'll get an alert that they're done.
Oh,
and that
excellent.
they've left the property. But then when they're done, you just put that back in there and it clips back in there.
And it actually gives them a prompt. Are you done showing?
Right.
And they can say yes or no.
Right.
And I know on mine, I think you can program it to give feedback right when they're locking the door,
Correct.
which is really, really good too.
Right.
So-
Sometimes difficult if you're on to the next, but
Right.
it'll still prompt you in your email later, and if you have something you really want to say and
And then
type
you
it
can
out.
forward that to the seller if you want.
Correct.
Or the seller wants to hear it.
It
So,
helps me keep track, so I can go back. If your house has been on the market for 15 days and we've had 10 showings, I can go and look it up and see all the showings and see who I've gotten feedback from. And of course, everything's selling in one day right now. So,
yeah, it's a hot market
but-
out there.
But very secure, and it's just no reason to worry. This is our friend.
Excellent. Well, very good. Well, thanks, Terri, for showing the lockbox, because that is a lot of questions. And, you know, only members of the local association have access to the local association lockboxes.
Correct.
And so, because I'll see listings from out of area realtors, they don't have lockboxes, and it's very hard because they're not in our local MLS. We don't have access to show those, and yet we're the agents that are selling everything locally.
Right.
So you should use a local realtor that has a local,
A local
lockbox.
lockbox.
Absolutely. So, you know, I get a lot of questions about solar. It's really popular. So, what do you know about solar?
So I've had several listings this year that have had solar, and I just want people to realize some of the issues that go on with solar. Yes, it's a good thing. I'm not here to knock solar.
Right.
It's the business end of it. So
Right.
when people get solar, 99% of them have it on a lease.
That's right.
So if you want to get solar on your house and pay for it in full, you go for it. But when you have a lease on your solar
And those are like
system,
20-year leases.
they're
too.
20-year leases. Every single one I've dealt with has been 20-year lease. So what you are essentially doing is you put that on your house because you love it and it's great and it's saving you money. But then you decide, oh, I'm going to sell my house. The market's great. I'm going to call Terri and sell my
Right.
house. Well, now you've got a lease that you have agreed to as the seller that you have to pass on to the buyer.
That's right.
So the buyer has to be willing to assume that lease.
Assuming they can.
Right. And they also have to qualify for it.
That's right.
Which normally is not a problem. If they don't qualify, it's a $250 fee. But normally if they can afford the house, they qualify for the solar. But it's a series of payments over 20 years. So that can be really daunting when the buyer looks at the solar agreement. Oh my God. And most of them have a proration. They all start out at like $53 a month. And for whatever reason, they go up
Oh, wow.
every year. So year 2 will be 60 something, year 3, by the time you're at the end, you're paying $93. I don't know what the design behind that is,
Right.
to be honest.
Like a
So-
reverse mortgage.
It is.
Like your payment should be going down, it feels like.
And then some solar companies will allow you to pay it off early. Some do not have that option.
Well, even if they pay it off early, the house still has to be connected to internet. And that's how the solar company monitors the performance of the panels. Because with that lease, they usually come with some kind of maintenance guarantee
Right.
to it.
Right.
So,
I guess my point is that there are consequences, might not be the right word, but
Right.
there are hoops to jump through. So
it is more difficult to sell a house with a leased solar.
it is, because first you've got to explain it to the buyer, and maybe you're 10 years into the lease, then people don't seem to mind as much.
Right.
But I did have one this year, bless their heart, they didn't know they were going to move.
Right.
They literally just put this solar on, had it for 3 months.
Now they're
Life
selling.
happens,
Yeah.
they had to move, and so you are asking somebody to assume that one was like $14,000.
Right.
And yes, it's a payment plan, and yes, you can save money depending, if you're cranking your air conditioning or any of that, but there's a process, and then there's a process with title.
Well, I had gone through this several times lately, and now title companies are saying they won't touch it. So there are a few of them that are like, the buyer and seller have to figure it out because that's not part of our escrow.
But the title company, so there's the UCC termination,
Right.
which I've become very familiar with. It's Uniform Commercial Code.
That's right.
I had to look up, what is this UCC termination? So that has to be removed. It's in essence a lien.
Right.
Because the solar company owns the solar
The
system,
equipment,
the
right.
equipment. So the title company has to remove, it's called a UCC termination. They remove that when the property is transferring from seller to buyer, and then they put it back on
Right.
for the new buyer.
Right.
Okay, that sounds maybe not so bad. Is it the end of the world? No, but is it a pain in the patootie when
Yeah,
you're
that's
dealing with because here we are, this is what happens every time. Hi, we're closing in 2 days. Where is our UCC termination?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the solar companies.
Right.
And then, title jumps in there and
Because you
helps.
can't call these guys.
No, it has to be, the seller
Right.
has to initiate it. And
And
then
it's all online.
then everything's online. So there's a lot of emailing, and some companies are great at responding,
Right.
and some are not. And some have caused late closings.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. The other part of solar is that if you watch the TV and the newspaper ads and the flyers they send everyone, they lead you to believe that solar's for everyone.
Right.
But if you just don't use a lot of energy,
Right.
you're probably not a good candidate for solar.
Right.
We've sold homes on there where we look at their bill before and after,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, you should never put solar on there because you're just wasting your money. You don't use that much electric, especially for retired people.
Right.
Or people that don't live there full time.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they wind up putting solar on there because they believe the marketing,
Right, and that's what I would encourage people to really look into it, or if you're planning on staying in your house for 20 years, great, or if you want to pay for it, great, but just like my example, those people thought they would be there forever, and life changes. It's just not the end of the world, but it is a hoop to jump through, and for some people, it's a detriment trying to get their house sold.
Well, and we're at a house not too long ago, and the pigeons kept getting underneath the solar panel.
I had that too. Yes.
It's little things like that make the performance of the panels degrade the performance
Right.
on them, so they wind up putting wire around them.
I had a seller that had to pay, was requested to pay and agreed
Yeah,
to put up wire around it
for the
for the
'cause
buyer.
the birds.
Yes, it was part of their
Yeah.
inspection notice because the pigeons were getting into
Yeah,
their garage.
they're I did a house a couple of years ago in Chino Valley, and they had battery because Because, most solar is backed up through the grid. The grid is their backup. And, but some people have battery backups and they're not connected to the grid, or they have battery backups and connected to the grid behind that.
Right.
But all that equipment's only designed to last for 15 to 20 years. And you got a good 20-year lease on it.
Right.
So, and the technology's changing almost, definitely rapidly.
Right.
So, yeah, if you're not thinking, if you're going to be in your home for 20 years and you use a lot of electric, it might not be a bad deal.
Right.
But I think the average house sells in this area 8 to 12 years.
Right.
So I can't imagine, I couldn't recommend anybody having solar just because people don't normally stay in their homes that
Well,
long.
and to be fair, some of these homes that I had, their bill was zero because of it, but you're paying the lease payment, but their APS bill was zero. Okay, we still had to really explain that, and
Well, there was something that the Corporation Commission came out with a year ago, maybe 2 years, where you're not allowed to have zero metered APS, that you have to have some consumption. In other words, you couldn't have a 100% solar unit. So I don't know where it's at now. I'm not a solar guy, but
Right.
I do remember that was in the paper, the big thing.
okay.
So
Well, I would just advise everybody to really think about it.
That's right. That's right. And so as we start to wrap this little episode up, we talked a little bit about Capstone and Jasper and the Granite Mountain Vista estates in Springerfield. On any of those new subdivisions, we always recommend people to contact your realtor,
Yes.
to go with you and not to go alone. The salespeople there are nice, they're informative, but if you go there unrepresented, just know that those developers only represent the builder, and they
Right.
only represent the developer. They specifically do not represent the buyer.
Right.
And the buyers need representation, and their prices do not change when you have a representative realtor with you.
Right. Which
And
a lot
many
of people
times you
think.
can get them a better price. So.
And you're going to give them better customer service.
Right. And, those salespeople are licensed realtors, and just from experience, they would much rather work with you.
They would.
Because you know what you're doing.
Right.
And you can explain it to the buyer.
Right.
And-
Well, and they want me to deal with the buyer, which is great.
Yeah.
Instead of, because they've got 100 houses going up
That's right.
and 4 salespeople.
So. And they know what you're talking about.
Right.
And so.
And I'll handle it.
Yeah, and so they can tell the buyer something. The buyer doesn't really know, but if you know, you can say, wait a minute, that's not right.
And I always tell people, like you just said, I'm going to repeat it though, if you go by yourself, because a lot of times I get people saying, oh, Terry, I just wanted to swing through the models.
Right.
If you go without me,
Right.
I'm out. They can't, and they stick to it, which is really a little mean.
Right.
But especially if they're just browsing and.
Yeah.
But those are the rules, and every builder that I know of sticks to those rules. So.
Absolutely.
And I don't have a problem. You call and we'll go together. That's all you have to do. I just have to be there.
That's right, and it's nice because you can also set them up on a drip campaign and through the portal and send them new listings that come up and things like that. And you can share with them all the new developments that aren't even started
That's
yet.
right.
So that's good. So, well, hey, thanks for being on this episode.
Thank you.
And thanks for tuning in.